It's a mass shooting in Texas, Austin, Texas, on 6th Street. Like 20 people were shot, unfortunately. And that's becoming way too common, of course. And you got Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mother, out in Arizona. It's been a month since she's been missing. I think we all would agree that she's probably dead. Sad to say, but all sorts of medications she was on to keep her alive. She had a pacemaker which was disconnected when she was kidnapped a month ago, so she's probably dead at this point. Savannah went ahead and went back to her home, her residence rather, in Lower Manhattan. Last I heard, they had offered $1 million for information that will help with getting her mom back. So, very sad event. Think about the people who did it. Like, this had to have been planned out. Had to have been planned out thoroughly. And it's surprising they got this far. To have her this long, I don't think the FBI has any suspects. Initially, they were looking at her son-in-law, the middle child, Annie, they have her as a writer/poet. Her husband and one of his bandmates were suspects, but they were cleared. So there's no solid suspects, and it's been a month. What's up to the FBI? We gotta do better. We gotta do better. So there's that. Then, of course, you have the elephant in the room, which is the war in Iran, United States and Israel attacking and even killing the Ayatollah Khomeini. And, Ayatollah Khomeini was a horrible person. That whole regime, these are bad, evil characters. It was even said, there's a podcast I was listening to, PBD, and he even said that this guy actually was into little boys. The Ayatollah Khomeini was into little boys, and a lot of those guys are those Muslims that are higher up in power. It's so forbidden, but this goes on, and it isn't really spoken about. But PBD had shed light on it. He grew up in Iran. I believe he moved to LA as a teenager or an adolescent, somewhere through there, but he pretty much grew up in Iran. And he was saying that, it's well known, but people don't really speak about it. And the people of Iran are dancing in the street right now. They're happy as hell, It's horrible how these people are treated. There was a couple years back, if you remember, there was some sort of athlete, a female athlete in Iran, and I think she moved her head wrap back or took it off slightly, something to that degree, and she was murdered. The Ayatollah had her murdered, and the people of Iran were in an uproar, and there were massive protests. They don't want to live like that. The majority of them, probably 95%, somewhere through there. But what happened? The Ayatollah Khomeini and his people, they squashed that shit by killing massive amounts of civilians, and they just did it again too, right before this strike. So they were horrible people, horrible. So I'm happy for the Iranian people. However, I'm skeptical about America's involvement. And this was warranted because they've been killing our people, throughout the years. But it seems to me that this is more so Israel's fight. Because another thing good that it does do is it should significantly lessen the amount of attacks on Israel, because Iran was the main funder of these little groups that they would fund that would go and carry out attacks on Israel. So that should be lessened. You do have Qatar, who also funds some of these terror groups, but it should be lessened because Iran was the main one. So that helps Israel in that sense. However, what about the United States? You know, how does that really benefit us? This is just pouring more money. These attacks are expensive. This equipment, this is just more money being spent, you know, that could be going elsewhere. And so I have my doubts about the war. You know, as I said, it's good for the world that this regime was toppled in Iran. However, when it comes to America, where I'm at right now, live in New York City, on the Lower East Side at the moment, at the historic Delancey Street, like that old Dana Dane song, Delancey Street. But I'm here in America, you know, and we have so many problems here, especially in New York. And with the new mayor that we have, Mamdani, I don't believe he has our best interests in mind. He's just out to prove himself to be, you know, basically a socialist. But what affects us isn't going to affect him. He comes from money. He comes from money. That's right. They've been killing our service members, you know, and this is going to continue to go on. But Mamdani comes from money. So when we feel it here in New York City, he's not going to feel it. And socialism has proven to not work over and over. And that's the last thing we need in New York. This is a city built on capitalism. One of the greatest cities in the world, I'm proud to say, has its flaws, many of them, but it was built on capitalism. We do not want to turn to socialism. Plus, there's already socialist programs within New York and the country. He made what is it called? Poly Market, which is a free grocery store in New York. You see the lines, not far from here actually. You see the lines around the corner. And my thing is, this is nothing but a glorified pantry. We have that already. It's a glorified pantry. So, point being, going back to what talking about with Iran, I'm happy for the Iranian people, but what about the American people? I want to see that. We'll see how this is going to play out. There's attacks back and forth right now. Israel's continuing to attack. Iran is striking back. As someone in the comments said on this live stream, service members were killed, American service members. I believe it was more than one. And Trump said that this is going to continue. I think Trump is doing a good job, but there are things that he's doing that I disagree with. But overall, I think he's doing a good job. As far as I stated, things for the country, no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, getting that legislation passed, that was beneficial to America. Some of the trade deals that he's made is beneficial for America. The Trump RX, where he's getting the lowest prices for prescription drugs, that's going to be beneficial to America. I wasn't a big fan of the whole thing that went down in Venezuela, even though, again, that's something that's going to benefit the Venezuelan people. They were partying in the streets also. But our involvement in it, I'm skeptical about. Y'all follow me on all the social media, Instagram, TikTok, here on YouTube, also on Twitter and Facebook, Will Flores TV. Let's make history, baby.